Welcome back to the Upper Tier Podcast, the football podcast we bring you each and every week on the Dynamo Podcast Network. Head over to YouTube, smash that subscribe and bell notification button. Also available on Anchor, so if you prefer the audio versions of our shows, head over there. And tonight we have our flagship show, the Monday Mashup. Joining me tonight, representing Tottenham, Graham Cummins. How are you, Graham?
All good, Niall.
Good. Represented the red side of Manchester, the man who is the sponsor of the show, Hogan Elite Trophy, or Mr. Mark Hogan. How are you, Mark?
How's it going, lads? Are you all right?
Good to see you there with that lovely Premiership trophy. Very nice. You can just Photoshop it down into Wayne's video there shortly. There, change the ribbons. Back on the show again, the man, the blue side of Manchester, Wayne. How you doing, Wayne?
All right, Niall, how's things?
Brilliant, great to have you on. I'm back again, a regular on the show again, representing the blue side of London, Mr. Alex Bourne. Alex, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, man. I'm in a lot better form than my first appearance when Frank got the sack. I can't smile wide enough now.
Every cloud has a silver lining, as they say.
Absolutely.
Yeah, brilliant. Don't forget also, check out Alex on Facebook. He has a show on Facebook there called The Chats Goes Out, I think, on a Thursday evening.
Absolutely, man. Thursday at 7 p.m.
Absolutely cracker of a show if you're into all things kind of comedy and all. Yeah, excellent stuff. So yeah, lads, let's kick it off and have a quick look at the Premiership first of all, and the results over the weekend. There wasn't too many matches. Obviously, Leeds picking up a good win against Fulham 2-1. That was kind of badly needed, but again, it drops Fulham back down into the doldrums again after a little bit of an uprising, let's say. Villa Tottenham, Graham, 2-0 to the Spurs. They're back again
for a week.
Yeah, it seemed like a reasonable performance. Harry Kane joining Mo Salah at the top of the Golden Boot League. That won't last too long, so don't worry about it. What did you make of the performance against Villa?
I thought it was a great performance. One of the first matches in a long time that I thought we were very comfortable after that horrific week we had in Europe and against Arsenal. We needed this win. We know that Villa had been up and down, kind of like Leeds this season. They beat a big team and then they lose to like little teams. But I'm gonna class us as a little team this year. We're not looking anywhere big. Yeah, it's the fourth game in a while now. I think that Jose, he's gotten the formation right. You know, he's not leaving all the work up front with Kane. You know, he had Vincent there with him. You know, he played a 4-3-2-1 there for a while, and then he had Vincent up front there protecting Kane. So it was good. Now the two lads that came in for defence, Joe Rodon and Tangania, I thought they played really well. You know, no real threat from Villa. You know, if they had long balls coming in, you know, like the likes of a few other players will come in for headers and all that, but we seem to have that covered at times. It's a win that we needed. We'll probably just take it one game at a time. We have not much to play for coming to the end of the season. We have a cup final to look forward to, and we'll see what comes out with that, and then we'll take it game by game and see where we end up at the end of the season.
Well, you're still in the chase for a top four. I wouldn't be ruling that out at this stage with the inconsistency of the whole league. But I'd also probably make the point that I don't know whether Jose's been getting the formation and the picking of the players wrong. I think you just had two games there where the team just didn't show up. And that was really it. I mean, there wasn't a huge amount of difference in the personnel in terms of trying to beat a Zagreb or, you know, even the Arsenal team there. I mean, like literally they battered you. We spoke about it last week for 20 minutes. You just didn't show up. But yeah, interesting. I mean, there's still plenty there to play for. I mean, you still are in the cup final, so there's still a chance of a bit of silverware. Wayne would have a different view on that, obviously, when we come to him. But just keep on pushing forward.
It's the same. It's the same team plus 3 or 4 new players that Pochettino had at the time, and Pochettino got the sack because the players weren't performing. But I don't see the reason why Pochettino got the sack. Like, the like of Dele Alli and Eric Dyer, they're probably the ones who are like wanting fucking Pochettino out the door. But it wasn't Pochettino's fault, and it's not Mourinho's fault. It's just that you're in the starting lineup, you're not performing. You know, it's your fault.
Yeah, but I think there was a lot of confrontation there between Poch and between Levy as well before he left as well. I mean, some of the comments about being a coach, not a manager, and, you know, not getting the support that he wanted and all. It wasn't necessarily results on the players as well. I think there was a sort of a parting of the way there long before it ended.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose Levy's hoping that sort of Mourinho sort of does work out and can do something, because I was reading there the other day to get rid of him is something like 30 million. Something outrageous, like, you know, crazy.
I'd keep Mourinho. You know, he probably had the list of players he wants out in summer anyway. So he probably had a list of 5 or 6 that he wants out in the summer. So he can rebuild there. You know, so hope he go again next season.
Yeah, I suppose the issue is whether Levy will bring in 5 or 6 players for him. You know, that would be the problem. Getting rid of players. Then I suppose the game of the weekend in the Prem was West Ham and Arsenal. Unbelievable. Like, West Ham looked like they were coasting, and then they just collapsed, basically. You know what I mean? And I mean, maybe at half time they looked at the Premier League table. Moyes maybe got a nosebleed or something like that. But it was a heck of a game. For a neutral anyway, you know, and like Arsenal at the end celebrating like they just won the FA Cup again, you know what I mean, on a 3-3 draw with West Ham. Goes to show you how the mighty have fallen in London, you know. Let's move on to the FA Cup then, which is more tantalising. Wayne, Man City, professional job on Everton again. What was your thinking?
That's exactly that. I mean, it just looked for 80 minutes. The game was a bit, you know, like City are always dominant. They always have possession. A team set up, prepared for that. Like, Everton prepared for it. Everton broke us down a few times. Zinchenko saved the header off the line. Gundogan with another goal just seems to be his job now in the team. Just be in the box, hang around there, wait for them shots. De Bruyne with a brilliant bit of play. Obviously, and Fernandinho as well. Grandad played absolutely brilliant for us as well. It was just a professional job, like you said. It was. I don't want to say it's an expected result because nothing's ever expected, but I was quietly confident going into the game. You know.
Yeah, it was a good result, especially like you look at Everton. I don't know what it is about Everton. Like, if they wanted, they could play really, really nice football, but they tend to want to go out and just kick and punish players all the time. You know what I mean? Again, I caught some of the game there the other day, and it was just, you could still see that filthy play that's there. That, you know, it's no need for it because they have quality players if they just wanted to play football. But again, they were targeting City players there again and going in on them when there was no need. You know what I mean? Just stupid stuff, you know. Chelsea and Sheffield United, Alex. Alex is having his lunch. I think he's on mute there, is he?
Absolutely.
We'll go back to Alex. He's enthralled with his dinner. Mark, let's talk.
I'm back.
Oh, you're back, eh? You're back, eh?
I'm right here. Am I frozen for you?
Yeah, you're frozen on my screen.
Oh, we're back. We're all back.
Yeah, you'll be back now.
Hello.
Back in the room.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
really hope that we were doing the thing with the screens where it was going to the people that were talking, because I was on mute. I was like, I hope I'm seeing people.
No, our 250,000 viewers that we get every week have just seen what you had for your dinner, so it's not a problem. Chelsea, Sheffield United, very professional performance again. You know, you often see, you look at Chelsea at times and under Tuchel where they're getting the results constantly and they're on a bit of a good run, but they kind of labour towards it, don't they? Even though the quality is there. And I mean, I know Sheffield United, I mean, it's this is all they have left, really, you know what I mean? This is their swan song out of the division, really, you know? What was your thinking on the game?
Yeah, I thought it was. I thought 2-0 flattered us. Sheffield United, especially in the second half, played very well. I thought they should have had probably at least 2 goals. You saw the Dave McGoldrick header that just went wide, and then you saw when McGoldrick, but he got in. I think it was Brewster at the end where he just shot wide at the post. I was like, oh Jesus, you know, this is pretty nervous. But then Ziyech went up and killed the game off at 2-0. I thought that of all the games with Tuchel, there's been kind of an era of him sitting there going, okay, I feel confident that we're not going to concede. We're okay here. This was the main game where I sat here and said, okay, this is a bit risky. I really think Sheffield are going to get a goal. But I think it was almost expected. I think after the game against Atletico Madrid and, you know, the 2-0 there and the way we played, I always thought it was going to be hard to kind of motivate the players for a game against Sheffield United in the FA Cup. And no disrespect to Sheffield United, but I just think naturally there's that thing of, you beat Atletico Madrid 2-0, you look at these going, it's going to be easy. But it wasn't. It was actually a harder game that we had against Atletico. And look, I'm just happy to be through to the semi-finals and keeps Tuchel unbeaten as Chelsea manager. He has the longest unbeaten run ever for a new Chelsea manager. So quite happy so far with him.
Yeah, well, it's certainly going to be an interesting semi-final. And then, I mean, on the other side, it's Leicester Southampton, so it should be very, very interesting. Mark, let's talk about Leicester Man United. Just absolutely bossed and bullied and nothing to show at all, really, especially coming off the back of I wouldn't say a great performance against AC Milan, but a going out in Europe into San Siro and getting a job done performance. You should have been riding the high of going into the next round of the Europa League. What was you thinking on the game?
Yeah, well, before I start talking about United, I just want to say fair play to Brendan Rodgers. He set his team up really well. They pressed us high, closed us down quick. Like, he's only really managed smaller teams in the past, so it's good to see him with a big team now, doing well. But no, in fairness, all joking aside, they did their job very, very well. From our point of view, you're right. We should have been, on a high, like you said, bring that momentum into the game from the San Siro on Thursday. But he made 6 changes or something like that. You're looking at it. We're one game in the quarterfinal, one game away from international break. Why is he changing it so much? Mistakes cost us. You're seeing Maguire's pass to Fred was hospital. Then Fred panicked. He had 2 players either side of him. He panicked, and he was having a bad game as it was, and that was the nail in the coffin for him. I don't know how he lasted till 83 or 84 minutes after that, but it was just a comical of errors. Then we were giving the ball away. Martial wasn't in it at all. Greenwood wasn't in it. I don't know what's wrong with Greenwood the last while. I don't know if we're too expectant of him, because I'm looking at it going, did he actually overachieve last season? And we're looking at and asking too much of him. Martial, like I said, he's been missing all season. He just hasn't done it for me, not on a consistent basis. I know he's not long back off an injury, and he's been complaining, saying he'd rather play on the left-hand side. If you're putting on a United jersey, you're getting paid £150,000 a week. You play where you're told you're going to play. You shouldn't have a preferred position. Everyone should go there, do a job for the crest, and that's it. But like I said, Vardy should have scored. Vardy should have killed off a 3-1. Then McTominay gives away a stupid free kick, misjudges the flight of the ball. Iniacho thinks all his Christmas has come at once. Free header at the back post, bang, 3-1 into the semi-finals against Southampton. It was just all round. It was just unbelievable. It was woeful display. First 5-10 minutes, I thought we knocked around the ball. We were playing some fluid football, but never creating any chances. Never done anything with it. And by the time Bruno and Luke Shaw and the rest of them came on, the damage was already done.
Yeah, I think it was. I was listening to some of Solskjaer's comments, Ollie's comments after the game, and one of the comments he made was he didn't want to play Bruno because he felt Bruno needed a rest going into the Portuguese camp. And I was there thinking, now listen, I know that you're a nice man and everyone thinks you're a nice man in this game, but those kind of decisions can cost you your job.
Big time. This is the club that you get paid to play for. You go to represent your country, but you're getting paid by this club. I think, fair enough, he has done a lot this season. He's carried the team for so long. But even stick him off for an hour. If we were beating Leicester 2-0, take him off, change up the system, whatever. Get the job be done with them. But you're bringing them on in the 64th minute when, like I said, the damage was already done. We're chasing our tails, I couldn't believe the selection yesterday. Tellez came in. If anyone needs a break, I think it's Wan-Bissaka. He's played, he hasn't been great, but he's played so many minutes. We've no real cover on the right-hand side. I know Brandon Williams is slotted in there a bit, but like I said, we had, obviously I know Cavani didn't start because he's only kind of coming back from injury and stuff, but Bruno and Shaw should have been on the pitch yesterday, especially with the likes of Iniacho, Vardy there. We knew, I know Leicester were missing Justin and Maddison, but they have Tielemans. Tielemans is world class, absolute world class. I know when he came in on loan, he was brilliant. Then they bought him permanent. He didn't play too well, but the last while he's been excellent, and we just didn't know how to deal with it. And it's frustrating. Like I said, Fred and McTominay, I thought were for the 2 goals were just, it was shocking. And
That-
obviously
that,
Matic for the Tielemans goal.
Yeah, that combination doesn't seem to work, does it? That McFred sort of combination. It's a bit too negative, I think, you know. But yeah, I don't know whether Bruno would appreciate coming on as a sub either. You know what I mean? And giving him 25 minutes, and then him thinking, well, listen, I'm off to the Portuguese camp now in about 24 hours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's not going to be he's not going to be putting it in. You know what I mean? Properly.
Yeah.
You know?
But I don't know if you've seen it. He was warming up at the side of the pitch, and he was kicking every ball with the lads out there, and a throw didn't go our way, and he was berating the referee from the sideline. That's what you need on the pitch. Do you know what I mean? That's the passion that we needed on the pitch yesterday. In the quarterfinal of the FA Cup now, albeit we didn't know we were going to get Southampton before the game, but after half-time, you have Southampton in the semi-finals. And no disrespect to Southampton, but you'd expect to beat them. This is the biggest opportunity we have for a trophy this season. I know people are talking about the Europa League. We do have a tough draw there. Obviously, if we get through to the semis, it'd be Roma or Ajax. That's going to be tough. This was the opportunity to go win a trophy, get that monkey off your back. Ole's been having this thing about, they're talking about semi-finals, he hasn't won a trophy. This was the ideal opportunity, and the decisions he made cost us, and that's the bottom line.
Yeah, I mean, there's no hiding away from the decisions that were made. Let's move on to the Champions League draw. Wayne, absolutely, we covered the draw there the other day. Absolutely brilliant draw. How did you feel about getting Dortmund?
Delighted. I know you probably think, what? Absolutely delighted. I think if we put a number over on them, it helps Haaland. Pep says, come on, play for us. You know, come and join us, mate. I was reading today, by the way, I don't think it's true, but I was reading there's supposedly a deal in principle signed with Haaland. Man City, they were talking to his dad or something, and they have a deal in principle agreed. I don't believe it. I do think Haaland will go to Chelsea, but I was happy to get Dortmund. I think our consistency versus theirs, I think that's what will play out over the 2 legs. Don't get me wrong. If Man City don't attack it and we sit back or we try to move the ball around too much, Dortmund will pounce and they'll get us. You know, they only need 10 minutes of magic with Haaland and Sancho. We can do it over, 20, 60, 70, 90 minutes. You know, we that slow build up or whatever. Dortmund aren't like they're quick, they're on the bounce. You know, they usually score early in games or late. The other day they scored in the first 3 minutes, and in the last minute or something they got the equaliser. You know, I'm not frightened of Dortmund, but they're one of the toughest teams you'd think with Haaland and the form he's in, especially in the Champions League. But happy enough, to be honest, happy enough.
Haaland going to City is a very scary prospect for the rest of the league. I mean, you know what I mean?
Would you not agree, lad? Sorry, no.
Yeah, no. Go ahead, go on. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think if you could say the same thing with Chelsea, though. If he goes to Chelsea, man, what are Chelsea missing at the moment? An out-and-out goal scorer, you know. And if he went to Chelsea, I think that honestly, as a rival fan, I wouldn't be happy. I'd be thinking, oh no, here we go.
And Wayne, if you didn't get him, who could you see your striker being next season? Who's the other player that you could see coming in to fill Aguero's void?
Honestly, I would say it'll be another Pep thing where it'll be. I don't say mediocre, but I'd say like a rising star, someone that we won't be a big player. He'll be on the fringes of some team, had a few good performances, and I could see Pep going for someone young and someone like that, rather. Or he just maybe he reinvests back in Aguero, because I think Aguero's pushing to get a better contract for his last year. If personally, I think he wants a few bob or something for his last year. It's hard to predict, because without Haaland, we're not gonna sign him back. I know he's a winger, striker, whatever you want to call it, like winger forward, but we're not going to sign him for the wage structure. Neymar's out of the game. I know he's not a striker again, but he's that goal scorer. Mbappe, he would be a big talisman. Or Haaland would be the big talisman signing. I'd say City could push to pay for him. I think it's down to wages. I just don't know who. Like, who would you reckon City would go for? What kind of players are on the market that City would go?
I saw a story on Sky Sports News today. This isn't a joke. I saw that apparently they want to sign Danny Ings.
Yeah.
That's honestly what I saw on Sky Sports today. Yeah, he's a good player, but yeah, honestly, like I know you said about Chelsea, I genuinely believe that Haaland will go to City, because I think the fact his dad played there, I think his dad's going to be in his ear going, look, I played for City. I know you were born in Leeds, but when you were growing up, I was playing for City. City were your team. Like, there's a picture of him as a kid in the City jersey. So personally, I really, really do think he's going to go to City. Like, I would love to get him, I know too, because I'm a big fan of him, but I just think the fact that if I took, I'm a Chelsea fan, but if I took kind of the thing out, I'd look and go, well, look, City are up where they are in the league, their chance to win the quadruple, the fact Pep Guardiola is there, the players he's going to play with, that attack that they have. I genuinely think he's going to end up at City, but I think the worst thing in the world he could do would be to go to Madrid. I think if he winds up going to Madrid, that would be just destroy him.
Yeah, they've created an art form out of doing that, really, haven't they?
They booed Ronaldo.
Yeah.
They're the only team I've ever seen boo Ronaldo. He's your record goal scorer and he won 4 Champions League. And they booed him.
What do they say? Eating bread is soon forgotten.
There you go.
Alex, let's talk Porto Chelsea. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better toy.
Yeah, like, I mean, I remember the day of the draw, I was sitting there going like, and the only thing I was saying was, please be Porto, please be Porto. And as soon as I came out and I saw the second leg was at Stamford Bridge, I was like, this is literally the ideal draw. And the way that I suppose the structure of the draw worked is, you know, if we are to make this final, it will obviously be tough because if we beat Porto, we play yourselves, we play Madrid. But the fact is we avoid City, we avoid Bayern, and we avoid PSG. So I'm sitting there going like, kind of over 2 legs. I think any of those 3 teams over 2 legs would be too strong for us. But in a final on a one-off day, anything can happen if we make it. And I think Liverpool have a great chance of making that final too. It's just, yeah, I'm really happy the fact that if we make the semi-final as well, the second leg is at Stamford Bridge as well. So I literally couldn't have asked for a better draw. Avoid the big kind of 3 teams that, you know, are the favourites, I imagine. And then second legs at the Bridge, I'm ecstatic. I'm even, when we drew City in the Cup yesterday, I was like, you know what? Given the draw we had in Europe, I don't even mind.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you want the big toys. You want to play the big teams, you know.
In the final.
I say the UEFA representatives out back were kicking themselves and they saying Bayern versus PSG. Like, what is the chances of that coming out? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just there. Because when I seen Bayern being drawn, I said, here we go. This is Liverpool all over it. You know what I mean? So then when we got Real Madrid, I went, yes, happy days. Mo Salah, Sergio Ramos, time for payback.
I'm thinking Sergio Ramos is coming back.
I think personally, I'm not just saying this. I think personally, Chelsea would be one of my dark horses to win the Champions League this year, genuinely, on the form there. Or Liverpool, weirdly enough, Liverpool or Chelsea. I could see Liverpool doing the performances, on, you know, like you said, on the given nights. Like Liverpool can stand up and do it. Same as Chelsea, you know, and Chelsea have obviously on this amazing run of form too. I think City's battle, like if we go to a semi-final that looks like City Chelsea. I'd say Chelsea are favourites for that, man. I'd be bricking it, from personally, honestly. I'd be thinking, no.
I feel personally in Europe, if you had asked me who I'd rather face in the semi when we get through, I'd rather face Madrid, because Liverpool are this strange team that it doesn't seem to matter how they're doing in the league. Like, I mean, they could lose their next 5 league games. They could be like 10th or 11th in the league or whatever. I would still fancy them in Europe. They always just seem to get it done in Europe. Even that season, they finished 5th and won the Champions League, 3-0 down at halftime against Milan. They always find a way to do it in Europe. And I think it's just one of those things when you've won it so many times and like you've been in and around this many times, they just find a way to get through. Even against Barcelona, 3-0 down after the first leg, come back and win 4-0. They just find a way.
We're the kings of Europe, lads. That's the way it is, you know. What can
Other than Real Madrid, right? Kings of Europe after Real Madrid.
They're the spent force. They're the spent force. Don't worry about them. So you might have noticed me on Twitter today. I was just hitting and liking everything that Luis Garcia was posting today. So it was great, you know. I was gonna nearly hit him up and see was he available on a free transfer for that Chelsea game if we both get through. You know? But yeah, Meltwater and toys, and then obviously the semi-final draws as well. Absolutely fantastic. I mean, Man City are gonna face either Bayern or PSG if they both make it through, and you know we're potentially gonna face Chelsea, which would be unbelievable. You know, so.
Throwback that.
Yeah, proper good draw.
Liverpool want the home leg in Budapest.
Sure. It's our second home, so that's where the final is. What's the problem?
That's the thing. I just remember, like, when I saw potentially facing Liverpool, it took me back because remember it was from 2005 up to 2009. We just faced Liverpool in Europe every single year, and like I just remember those games. Like as a teenager, like I remember going like this is life and death. We have to win these games. It meant everything, and the thought of it will be quite interesting. I think just for those 2 games, they need to put them back on Sky Sports to be like, this is where these games belong.
But imagine, Alex, if you won the Champions League and the FA Cup, Tuchel winning the double in 6 months in the job, like that's amazing. That'd be
Somebody
amazing.
said
possible.
that though. Somebody
Very
asked
possible.
me. Somebody asked me if Tuchel wins the FA Cup and the Champions League, is he a Chelsea legend? I said yes. Any manager that wins the Champions League is a legend. Unless you're
Just
at
like
Madrid.
Di
Exactly, and it'd be very similar to Di Matteo. You know, manager getting sacked halfway through the season, this fella coming in with no expectation, then all of a sudden, fair enough. But look, I'm not going to take anything for granted. I think we have a very good chance to make it in the final, but it's even Porto, like they're not a foregone conclusion. They and Tuchel handled that very well. They asked him in his press conference, you know, Porto, it's an easy game. He says, if you think it's an easy game, go to Turin and ask if it's an easy game.
Yeah, I'd say if Tuchel probably go win the Champions League and the FA Cup and then get sacked in the tunnel or something. Madness. You know,
like Di Matteo when he won the Champions League. I think it took like a month and a half for them to actually appoint him as manager.
So Chelsea fans are practically calling him a legend, a club legend as it is, based on the Lampard era. You know what I mean? So it's all good.
Well, it was looking so bad though. Like by the time Lampard left, it was like you didn't even start to think, can someone save this now? Yeah. Is this savable? You know. And what the job Tuchel's done is it's fantastic, mate.
I'd personally given up on top four. I was like, there's no hope at top four. When I saw us get Atletico Madrid in Europe, I says, you know, that's it. Another tough draw. Absolutely no way we're going to beat them. And kind of, it was weird because I've seen Chelsea knock out, you know, kind of the big teams in Europe, but the way we did it against Atletico Madrid, I can't remember the last time we played over two legs against a team that are doing that well or have that, I suppose, aura about them, and just dominate both legs.
Yeah.
And the thing about Tuchel is, when you look at it, this makes you dangerous for next season. Is he's done this with the pool of players that were already there. Imagine when he has a transfer window under his belt, he's going to be very, very dangerous next season. 100%.
I don't know. I'm a bit weary of signing players now. Spend 200 million to recipe for disaster. He'll spend 200 million, get sacked, and be replaced by Mark Hughes or something like that. It'll be a role reversal.
Don't get me wrong. I know it wasn't his first choice. It wasn't his choice of the players started there. Chelsea have spent 220 odd million on lovely quality players. And if you remember, Tuchel always said, right, that give me N'Golo Kante and I'll win the Champions League. He said that two previous jobs, and now he's got him. And look at the form he's playing in. Look at the form Kante's playing in right now. He's class. Back to like Leicester days, you know? Back to Chelsea winning the Premier League days.
Even the likes of Mason Mount, he wore the captain's armband yesterday. You can see him; he's grown in leaps and bounds. I think he's fantastic. Pulisic, he could have scored yesterday only for that little slip as well. I think he's have a really strong squad there, and if you add two players, maybe two or three players, I think he's going to be very dangerous next season.
I personally think that Mount's been our best player this season, and I'd like to get two or three players in, obviously, but I think the only thing that's missing is just that lethal finisher, because I thought Werner was going to be that, but he's really he's playing well, but you need somebody to put the ball in the back, and if we were to get somebody like a Haaland theoretically, I think that's a very dangerous team to face. And I know I said to you, Niall, on the podcast when we were talking about, I think we were talking about Chelsea after the Liverpool game when we beat us at Anfield. I said to you, look, he seems to understand the team, like certain formations suit certain teams. I think with us, I've said ever since Conte, we're a back three team. We're just a different prospect when we play with a back three. When we have a back four, it's hit and miss. But back three, I think we can beat anybody when we play in a back three. Just whatever it is about the formation, it just seems to work with the players that we have.
Alex, I'll throw this one out. What about a cheeky bid for Harry Kane?
Oh, shout.
You know what?
He wouldn't have to move out of London. He wouldn't have to move out of London, move across London, win a few trophies. Man. I just have the money.
I take him.
I was reading the other day, City were interested in Harry Kane, and I thought, I don't know. He's obviously a finisher, but I don't know if he suits us, you know.
I think that it will be funny in the sense that all we're going to stick about, you know, Chelsea, we give to Tottenham, you know, we've done this, we've done that, and you're this, and, you know, we're obviously in the mess of, you know, you had the Willian transfer, when we won the Champions League, they'd finished fourth, we kicked them out, and just, you know, the fact that we only won once at the Bridge in the Premier League era, I think that'd be hilarious if we went out and signed their best ever striker. And if he scored against them, I'd just be going, you know what? This would be amazing. But look, I'd be mad not to take him. I think he's a wonderful striker. I think he's up there with, you know, your Haaland, your Lewandowski's, and your Ronaldo's and Messi in terms of numbers that he generates. He's a fantastic striker.
Yeah, I'm just if I could give you a bit of advice, I'm a bit like Wayne. I just, you know, there's no doubt about his goal scoring record and stuff like that, but there's just something about him that I just don't fancy at all, like, you know, in terms of bringing him in as a player. Any advice I give to Chelsea would be stick to selling players to London clubs. Don't start buying them. That's all I would say.
Stick to selling players to Arsenal.
I say as well, you'll have a night. You'll have a night if you did say do well in the Champions League, or say you end up meeting Courtois in the semi-final and knocking him out. You could drink a nice pint of his tears, man, just like the Liverpool fans with Coutinho did. You know, that was
amazing. I left Liverpool to win the Champions League. All right, mate.
Yeah, maybe you need to have another conversation with that agent of yours.
He did win the Champions League. He just had to leave Barcelona.
Yeah.
So let's move on quickly through the Europa League draw. Granada, Man United, Mark. Obviously a nice draw there. And they've been the kind of dark horses of the competition.
Yeah, and like they're 8th or 7th or 8th, I think, in La Liga. They have obviously your man Soldado there, Rui Patricio on goal. The thing about them though is they do concede a lot of goals, and I'm not just talking about your Real Madrids and Barcelona's. Against the likes of Levante, Osasuna, Villarreal, they do concede, so they're kind of similar to us, but you'd expect to beat them over 2 legs, and then obviously it's the semi-final against Ajax or Roma, which is be the tougher game.
I often wonder, I'll go to you, Graham, I often wonder about these London rivalries when I see Arsenal celebrating more about Tottenham getting put out by Zagreb than Arsenal actually getting through themselves. It's just crazy, you know what I mean? Arsenal, Prague, Slavia, what do you think of there? I mean, I think Arsenal will go through there, do you?
Well, as a sports fan, well, when it comes to the end of the season, if Arsenal have nothing to play for, they might as well give the Europa League a go. They might as well. Have gun blading.
Listen, when you're in the Europa League, you've nothing to play for anyway. Let's get real here, you know. Then Ajax drew Roma, which is obviously, I think, is the actual toy of the round, to be honest, because Ajax are obviously slightly weakened in terms of, you know, they've sold a lot of their talent. Roma, obviously, we're going to bring that strong Italian, staunch sort of team. So it'd be interesting if we get a United Roma semi. Would be interesting, but
that'd be the tougher one.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's just you know, for a lot of these teams now, it's all eggs in a basket really. And then Zagreb, Villarreal. Craig was on the show there the other day, and he was saying when we were covering the draw that Villarreal would be his dark horse. That they're playing,
especially with Emery there.
Yeah, but he says they're playing very well and they're scoring goals. They're doing well and they're solid. They don't give much away. And I mean, that's a winning formula for something in a Europa League, you know.
You've also got Unai Emery, who I think, did he win the competition 3 times with Sevilla?
He did, yeah.
And also he made the final with Arsenal. So, like, I mean, he knows all about the Europa League too.
I as a Liverpool fan, know that Unai Emery knows all about the Europa League.
Yeah, fair.
Trust me. So yeah, that's kind of wraps up the Europa League. So we get on to some of our hot topics here that we picked out. Let's start with Eden Hazard. There was a lot of talk during the week there about Eden Hazard, who's after getting injured again. That is he the biggest, you know, flop of a European signing in the history of European signings, if you like.
Yes.
He's 146 million he cost Real Madrid. Yep. He's on 400 grand a week. 25 appearances, 3 goals. He's had 11 injuries this season alone. Out of Real's 56 games, he's played 14 games and scored 3 goals.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. There was a lot of talk. He went in there first and he was injured. He had it set back straight away. He'd gone off and he was enjoying the fruits of his labour in terms of that good Spanish paella and all that kind of food. Came back to Real Madrid, looked like twice the player Eden Hazard was in terms of size. Shed a bit of that weight and got fit again and was sort of off and running and wasn't doing too bad with the team.
Yeah.
And now we've just seen injury after injury after injury after injury. Barely has a run of 2 or 3 games normally in the side without getting injured. And I don't know, it just, you know, this is a guy who played in the Premiership, you know, with Chelsea.
Is that,
you know,
is that, oh, go on, sorry. No,
go ahead, Wayne. Go ahead, chime in.
Just asking, is that the backroom staff? Is this the physiotherapist? Is the
I don't think it is. I don't think it is because none of the other players are that injury prone at Madrid.
Gareth Bale.
Well, no, he was just on the green.
Yeah.
He wasn't injured. He was nothing wrong with his swing. But the thing is, though, things I can say is obviously, I've watched Eden Hazard for years, and I could sit here and laugh and be like, 146 million for us, and grand, he's off and he's cocked at Madrid, he's crocked. But to be honest with you, I just think it's sad. I think it's very sad because, I know, obviously, you guys don't support Chelsea, but when you watched Hazard play in the Premier League, you were like, what a player. I mean, there was always a debate who's the better player in the league the last couple of years, him or De Bruyne. And I just think it's strange because his last season at Chelsea, I think, was his most prolific. I actually think it was his best season at Chelsea's last season. I think he got 16 league goals and 15 assists. In that Europa League final against Arsenal, he absolutely run amok in that game. And, when he left, I says, no hard feelings. You're a great season. He's gone out at the top. Well, not at the top. He's won the Europa League. See, we did the Europa League right. If you're in it, just win the thing. And it's a case of, he did that and he went down. I was thinking he's going to do really good at Madrid. But ever since he went in, it's just, he's looked overweight. He's been injured. And it just hasn't worked for him at all. I was reading that, if he takes this ankle surgery, he could never play football again. I'm like, that's horrible. I mean, the guy is only 30 years old. He's not, an older per se player. 30 is still relatively young as a player these days. And I genuinely just think it's sad. I mean, it's for us, it's 146 million, and we clearly got the best out of him. But I just think any player that's been that good and that much fun to watch, when you see that happen to them, it really is just sad to see.
It is amazing when you look at the way these things go, and you see it with Coutinho as well. And, how he was boxed out at Barca initially and stuff like that. And then you see that there's all these other players in the Premiership, and they do be touting themselves out to Spanish clubs. I mean, do they not see what's happened, what the history is like and stuff like that? It can't be all about the money all the time. You know what I mean? If you look at Eden Hazard, I mean, there must be at least a third of his trophy cabinet or medal drawer that he still feels he'd have to fill up. You know what I mean? And as you said, with that ankle injury, if that could end his career, I mean, he kind of never get over that. I mean, that would be definitely something he'd have to deal with in terms of unfinished business within his career. You know what I mean? And it just amazes me the way other players want to go there.
I think it's also, I know you mentioned money, but I think for Hazard, Real Madrid were the team he supported as a boy, and I think the allure of playing for Zidane, who went on record as saying was his idol. But what I said about Haaland earlier, and I know you mentioned Gareth Bale there. Madrid are a horrible club to go to. I mean, Gareth Bale scored, but they are a horrible club to go to. Gareth Bale, I know the final. I'm laughing. But the final in Kiev against Liverpool, Gareth Bale won that Champions League for them. He scored the 2 goals, make it 3 when he scored. In my opinion, I know people might argue there's a Dan volley. In my opinion, that's the best Champions League final goal of all time. That bicycle kick against Lloris was outstanding. And the following season, they treat him like dirt.
But they tend to do that. Remember, Noel was saying even about Ronaldo, his own fans booing him and stuff like that. They get on your back so much over there. But going back to Hazard, I remember him with the ball at his feet as a defender. You'd be absolutely crapping yourself. You remember that even that goal he got against Spurs? Remember when Leicester won the league that time?
Yes.
Only he could do things like that. When he just glided with the ball at his feet. It's just so sad to see. Like you said, he's only 30. It happens to a lot of really good players like Liverpool's Jamie Redknapp and all. It's so sad to see. But I was going to ask you, Alex, would you take a fully fit Eden Hazard and put him into the Chelsea team of now?
I think you take any. I think based on what I've seen as a Chelsea fan, is he a fully fit Eden Hazard doing what he did in his last season at Chelsea? Or is he a fully fit Eden Hazard, struggling, well, I suppose a couple of weight issues and kind of struggling around Madrid? So if he is the Hazard that's fully fit and we know what he can do, I think any team in the world will want him. Yeah. But there's a lot of talk saying, Chelsea might get Eden Hazard back, a cut price deal. I'd like to see him back, but I don't know if it's a case of I'd like to see him back because I know what he's done and what he can do. It's a case of, well, how do you manage him? Because it's a really, again, the worry is sad. It's just a very sad situation that he's found himself in. He got his dream move to Madrid, and it's just been horrendous for him.
It just shows you the grass isn't always greener.
Yeah. Do you think players suffer when players, for example, like Bale, top man at Spurs, Hazard, top man at Chelsea, then goes to the team of Galacticos where we're all top men or whatever way you want to call it, where at the end of the day you're not the star player and you are not Mr. Standout me.
Yes.
There's other players around you who carry that profile too. And you're not the focus guy. Because at Chelsea he was the main guy, man. Hazard was the guy. That team spirit, he was compared to strikers and midfielders. He was getting compared to everyone. Players throughout the ages he was compared to. That's how good he was, So.
Yeah, I think it doesn't help with the fans because I know I've seen with the fans, even with Hazards and Vale, like, we've signed these in Hazard. 99.9% of clubs would be like, oh my God, we signed Hazard. This is incredible. Madrid fans were kind of like, and? The fans don't help. Like, I mean, they turned out, like, I think it was 80,000 turned out for Ronaldo. So, Ronaldo at that time had the Ballon. He had the Ballon d'Or, and I think he lost the Ballon d'Or to Messi. But he was the Ballon d'Or holder a couple of years ago. He was one of the best, if not the best player in the world at the time. And it's crazy to see. Like, we've not just seen it with him. Even with Bale, it was kind of like, oh, okay, we signed Bale. With Kaká, it was like, yeah, Kaká. Like, Ronaldo was the big one, but even when they signed, when they signed Luka Jovic was absolutely tearing it up for Frankfurt. They signed Luka Jovic, and the fans weren't happy. They were like, why would we want him?
You're just after describing Wayne's reaction when he finds out that City signed Danny Ings.
Prolific.
Yeah. That'd want to be a cup price deal if Hazard was coming back to Chelsea. My fear would be, like, if he's racking up 11 injuries like that and he's going from La Liga back to the Premiership.
Yeah.
That's not the place to be going when you're racking up that amount of injuries.
Absolutely.
It is the toughest league without a doubt. Let's move on. There was a review released there during the week, child sex abuse within football review between 1995 and 2000. I know we've had a lot of strong views on this show in terms of the FA. Mark has spoken about, like, refereeing issues. We've spoke about racism within the game, grassroots. We've touched on a lot of stuff that they've kind of been a little bit remiss about, or what we would call behind the ball, if you like. And it concluded that the FA had not done enough to keep children safe between 1995 and 2000, describing it as significant institutional failings for which there is no excuse, which is kind of a damning statement, really. You know what I mean? When you think about it.
Yeah.
I know in my own situation from coaching in the club and stuff like that, and I know Mark could allude to it as well, being a referee in the Irish League and stuff like that. That clubs do a huge amount of work in this area in terms of protecting kids and safeguarding. I had only completed a safeguarding course there about 3 months ago in terms of coaching, and the FAI are very much on top of this. I just found it weird. Like, again, the FA being such a big organisation, sometimes these things just get, they get missed or stupidly sort of dealt with. And I just thought it was quite damning on them. Had any of you caught that report during the week? Or
I just read a bit of it, but a lot of this gets swept under the carpet. It's like everything outside of football as well, from down the years. And you can be guaranteed it goes back to the 70s, 80s. But what gets me is there's people at these clubs, and we won't mention names, that know it's happening, that knows someone is getting abused in that club and doesn't, stand up and speak out. And a lot of the coaches, like, I remember watching the documentary a while ago about a former player. Again, I won't name the club, but he was saying that the person that abused him is dead now, so he won't get punished. He's dead. He as far as he was concerned, he got away with it. But like I said, a lot of this has been swept under the rug, and it's not just to do with football; it's general society as it is. And we've seen in the past with the likes of Jimmy Savile and stuff like that. Obviously, we won't go into all that. But you're right, Noel. It should be done. Every club has a health and safety officer at youth level and stuff like that. So hopefully we can see some change. But, like, it should have been done years ago.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it kind of comes across nearly like a generational cultural kind of thing, doesn't it, really? Because, like, if you look at this review was from 95 to 2000. That's 21 years ago, and 26 years ago if you go back to the start. But you know what I mean? It's just
like I said, no, 70s and 80s it was happening as well within clubs. You can't even imagine what these young lads went through just to live out their dream of being a footballer. To go through that, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. Go ahead, Wayne.
Oh, it's shocking. I was just going to say, like, I have a friend of mine's lad. He plays for one of the top teams, so they're one of the top development sides over in England. And I went to see him play about a year ago. I had to send a copy of my passport and everything before the game just so I had clearance to get in and watch the lads, because obviously under 15. So I know just from my own experience there is stuff in place. Like, I was stopped at the gate. Excuse me, who are you? Who are you here with? What are you doing? Now, what club are you with? Who are you here to see? Can I see your passport? And I was impressed. I thought, this is good. I'm not a familiar face around. Who are you? What are you doing?
Yeah.
But like you said, it's not just the stranger faces. It's the faces that are coaching you week in, week out. It's the faces that are the backroom staff, the senior members within clubs, I suppose, or within the FA that are, And I think it's worth saying, 21 years ago, has the FA moved along? Have they changed that? And are they doing that now to protect children?
Yeah,
to your point about it being swept under the rug as well. Like, I mean, perfect example I have of that is before the show, you were texting me, and I go, hey, we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about the FA's, reporting abuse. And I said, what report? Like, I hadn't heard about it. This is the first time I've kind of heard the details of it. Like, I mean, it's sad, I suppose, as well as football, like how many organizations this has been happening in. Like, I know, Niall, you on the wrestling shop last year was the big kind of speak out movement in the wrestling industry as well. So it's crazy that, all of these kind of high profile things, that this is so prevalent, and it's shocking. And the fact that this is still has happened and is still happening to people in this day and age, similar to the racism, like the abuse that Fred suffered yesterday as well. I think it's disgraceful. I think, people say, oh, should more be done? Yes, something should be done. They need to get the abusers and, punish them. They need to get these people that are doing this and say, right, here's who they are. I'd name and shame. I said, this is who they are. This is what they do. You're not associated with this anymore. Get out.
Well, I think I think the one thing we can say is it has developed over years to the point now where it's great to see people having the courage to come forward and speak out and feel comfortable and feel safe that they can now do that. Like even in our own club, there's lots of policies and lots of procedures around all this stuff, But it's, as Wayne said, it's great when you experience it firsthand that you can see it's actually in place and it's been put in place and it's physically there. You can see it that this safeguarding is there. It's not just a document in the drawer of a desk or up hanging on a wall or something like that, So, I would be encouraged going forward to say that, there's a blight on the FA in terms of some of these things in the past. But I do think we can see going forward that these things are, corrected and dealt with very quickly now. And that the courage of, coaches within the game. And I mean, a lot of clubs now would have safety officers and all that, like people can feel comfortable to go and talk to, and it's in confidence and all that kind of thing. You know what I mean? So, sometimes it's tough looking back at the past, and we learn from the mistakes of the past, to move forward. It's just, as we've all spoke about before on the show, it just takes so long to get there, and that's the problem. You know what I mean? But yeah, we'll move on from it. There's not a lot more we can say really on it, except that, our hearts go out to obviously anyone who did suffer abuse during those times and stuff like that. And may you get your justice one way or another, So then we move on to, something a bit more light-hearted. Ollie came out the other day and said that not everything in football is about winning trophies. So, Mark, if you want to just push that trophy out of the picture,
check your ego with that trophy.
And that and that winning trophies was kind of an ego thing that masked other issues at a club. Now, this to me straight away was Ollie throwing the dart straight into the bullseye of Jose Mourinho without a shadow of a doubt. But I just thought, for a man whose legacy is winning the treble, and this is what he spoke about, I was kind of thinking, how can you even say something like that? You're at the biggest club in the world. Yeah. You're at one of the most successful clubs in the world. You were brought up with probably the best manager the sport has ever witnessed. Yeah. And you were surrounded by success. And to come out with a statement like that, saying that it's all ego-driven, and I'm kind of thinking, I'd rather be ego-driven at Man United winning a few trophies than to be getting kicked out the door having won nothing.
Yeah. But it just shows you, Ole, how he's wet behind the ears as a manager, and he's probably trying to start mind games, and he's not used to that. The likes of Jose and stuff like that have been around donkey's years. They know what's what. Winning trophies is the ultimate thing in football. That's why I got a free ego when I bought this trophy. I have it upstairs somewhere. But I listen. It's a ridiculous thing to say. I think the pressure of the coming to the end of the season is probably catching up on him a bit.
Yeah.
And like I said, he's wet behind the ears. He's probably a bit naive in what he said. And also, listen, a lot of this gets taken out of context. It could have been in a long-winded interview, and they just picked on this thing. But for me, it's an absolute silly thing to say.
One thing I saw, though, and if I were a United fan, this would have really annoyed me, and this is, disputable after the game. When I watched his post-match interview, he was laughing. He's laughing and joking. It's like, when did you ever see Ferguson get knocked out of a competition?
Yeah.
And, start, we're knocked out. We didn't want to win that. Like Ferguson famously said, when United won the Champions League in 2008, they got in the plane back, and Ferguson said to the team, if you don't want to win this again next season, leave.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of the difference, for Ferguson. Like, he was a serial winner. I agree with you, not best manager the game has ever seen and never will see, in my opinion. But he was such a serial winner. Like, he was saying, like, this is United. We need to win trophies. We need to be in the conversation for everything. So for a manager to come out and be like, trophies, whatever type of thing. If he did say it, I kind of look like any club would be like, then why are you playing?
Yeah. No, you're right. Someone sent me a picture on WhatsApp of the pictures of all the managers that lose, and then Ole's there smiling. They're all looking serious.
Yeah.
Maybe he's trying this Mr. Nice Guy persona too much in front of the camera. I don't know. It is frustrating when you see, because lads, we all know when you lose, you want to bleed and kick the telly. You want to, do you know what I mean? You want to punch a door. Yeah. You're not there smiling. But that's the last thing you want to be doing. So, like I said, I don't know if he's doing it just for the media and of this Mr. Nice Guy or PE teacher persona, but it does get frustrating, absolutely. And that, like I said, what he said there is absolutely ridiculous. If you're at a club that, like Manchester United, this goes back to the Busby Babes. If you're at a club, it's all about winning trophies. I don't care what anyone says. Yeah. It's about winning trophies. Even if you're in the Championship, League 1, League 2, wherever, you want to be at the top of your game. You've seen Salford winning the Johnson's Pay Trophy there. You've seen what it means to them. That's what it's about. It's about winning trophies. It doesn't matter. No, from managing Greystones, doesn't matter if it's a shield, if it's a cup. You want to win that, and you want to prove that you're the best team, and that's it. That's the bottom line.
100%. Like, I mean, you look at it. It was just the weirdest thing, and you see little things that he's doing as well. Like when he gives a pre-match press conference, and he's telling you, "Oh, this guy didn't train, and that guy is injured, and this guy." The next thing, they're all playing the next day. And like, he's just trying to do these little smart things that Ferguson used to do with Wenger back in the day. Try to play these mind games. Well, Ollie, you're not going to play mind games with Klopp or Pep or Tuchel or any of these top managers. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, if winning trophies is just an ego, it's just an ego thing. I mean, look at Graham with Spurs. I mean, look at Harry Kane. That lad must have no ego at all. Like, you know what I mean? It's just, it's absolutely such a, the way we.
You didn't need to say that.
But you know the way. I wanted to include Graham in the conversation because I know he's still hurting from last week, so I wanted to try and ease it in with a bit of chat. But you look at these things, and this is on like the this is a man who's about to try and sign a new contract at United as well. And.
But if I could just interject as well, there's all this conversation about, we'll go back to an earlier point that you made, Wayne. Where is Erling Haaland going to go? Because I know United are in the conversation. Like, if he looks at the teams, you have Tuchel saying, I want to build a team that nobody wants to play against. He said that. He's got Pep Guardiola base saying, we want to win this. We want to compete for every competition that we're in. We feel we can win everything. You've even got, Mourinho saying, we need to do this. My players need to play for the club. They need to win trophies. I don't want anybody to just here for money. But then if you're Haaland, you see Ollie going, trophies are bad for a team. They kind of ask him, looking going, why would I go there when he's saying, why would we want to win trophies? Like, that's got to be affecting him. And a lot of people are saying, oh, well, there's a Norwegian effect. No, but you have to have ambition. That has to come from the top.
Yeah.
Well, is there any top sports person in the world that doesn't have an ego? Is there any top footballer, man or woman, any top athlete out there who doesn't fancy themselves in every competition they enter or go, I'm gonna win this, Or today's me day. This is we're winning.
Exactly.
And if you don't take that way, you should just stay at home and forget it. Like,
Yeah. Exactly. You need to have the ego to believe in yourself. The ego to believe, winning a trophy, what it patterns your ego. Well, that's the whole idea. That's what everyone's getting paid. They're all getting paid. Kicking football around.
And not only that, the more trophies you win, the bigger your ego gets. The more you are feared as a team and as a club. That's what it's about.
not having a digger at him, but up until last year, United were the most successful club in England. So how can Ollie say it's an ego thing? Therefore, up until last year, United had the biggest ego in England. Do you know what I mean?
I was chatting to a United fan earlier, and I was saying about Solskjaer. I was like, look, he's been in X amount of competitions, hasn't won a trophy, hasn't made the final of a cup, and I was saying, and he was coming and saying this. I was like, how can you justify this style of management? And I got the response, oh well, look at Lampard. I'm like, yeah, but that's my point. Lampard got sacked because Chelsea were saying, look, you're a club legend, you have been one of our best players of all time, but this isn't working. We need to reach that next level. And they brought in Tuchel, who's a proven winner at PSG. I know you say whatever, PSG league on, it's not a great league, but in Europe though, he got into the final last year, PSG, and Dortmund, he had a great team. So I think he's a great manager. And I talked to I was devastated when we sacked Lampard, but looking now, I'm like, yeah, it was hard, but it was the right thing to do. I think that if United get a top manager with this group of players, they could do something well. I know he's second in the league, but there's been a lot of inconsistency from the other teams. And Bruno Fernandes is a very large part of that, I think.
So the reaction to this has really come about because a lot of the sections of the United fan base have been going in on Solskjaer recently. And what happens is they're now asking themselves, if being in the Europa League and potentially winning it and coming second in the league is the level that we're at, then why did we sack Jose Mourinho?
Yeah.
Because that's how he was reacting to this. He was basically saying, Jose came second in the league and won the Europa League, but look at all the stuff that was going on in the background in the club and stuff like that he had to come in and culturally try and fix again, if you like. And I think that's really where it was coming from. But he's in terms of press and PR and stuff like that, I mean, United should step in there and they need to kind of guide him very well there, because even when you see him going into a press conference, like as you said, Alex, he's laughing when he's losing and he has a mush on him when he wins. You know what I mean? And it's just, even when you see him in the press conferences, the media have a way of, probing him on little things. And he tends to answer questions with questions, or he doesn't answer the question. He gives you like a totally different answer.
Yes.
And it's the thing about it, I think it's more naivety than anything else. He's just...
and to your point, I know you mentioned mind games earlier. Ferguson obviously was the master of mind games. Mourinho played mind games. Klopp plays the odd mind game. I haven't seen enough of Tuchel to say mind games. Guardiola even plays the odd mind game. He sits there and he's very kind of aloof with his answers. But the thing about these guys playing the mind games is they've won all the major honours that there is to win.
The one thing I would say about United fans and Ollie, I was looking at a few of the forums yesterday, and there was United fans giving them stick, right? But 2 weeks ago, were they giving them stick when we best beat 2-0? That took away. So you have to look at that as well. There's always a flip side to it. And that wasn't a dig, Wayne. That wasn't a dig.
No.
Do you know what I mean? You have to look at it. I know the players have a lot to do with it as well, but they weren't asking for his head 2 weeks ago when we best beat 2-0. That's all I'm saying,
You're sitting second in the Premier League with teams who've spent, like Chelsea spent 220 million. Arsenal are on coming out of a FA Cup final. Liverpool have had 2 or 3 of the best years they've had, and as a football fan, that'd be nothing but brilliant. Is Ollie actually? If you look at the end, forget your week in and week out headaches. You look at the end of the season and you go, "Will we finish second to City with a 10-12 point gap?" How bad has he actually done, considering I wouldn't say he's a rookie now manager, but he's still, like you said, wet behind the ears. He's still got experience to gain. Has he done terrible? I don't think he's done awful. I just think, like we were speaking about earlier on in the season, United seem to be 90% there. There's a missing bit in United. They're not fulfilling their potential. They're not coming out every week and moving the ball in a way that you think, God, these are their own beat. They've got the quality, but they're just not doing it at the moment. But they're not necessarily awful. They're just not hitting the levels everyone's expecting them. The expectations aren't being met,
Yeah, if I could say, sorry to cut you, if I could just say one thing about United that I look at and say I can see a problem straight away. When I see Harry Maguire as a club captain, I think, look, you got a player like Bruno Fernandes there. I don't care how long he's been there. That has to be the club captain.
Yeah, no, I had said it when he was made captain. Bruno was only in a few weeks, but I would have actually given it David De Gea because he was there the longest, and then maybe moved on to Bruno Fernandes. We have been very Jekyll and Hyde, I agree, Wayne, this season. It's been frustrating, but he didn't get a chance to spend money in the summer. We brought Diallo in and Tellez, so hopefully this summer to be given back. And Darren Fletcher's been made director of football. Hopefully he can help get a few signings in. I heard a few whispers of a few players they're talking about bringing in. younger lads like Nathan Collins from Stoke, the centre half, the Irish centre half from Leixlip. He's very, very good. Fletcher obviously worked with him at Stoke and stuff like that. So hopefully we'll see in the summer if they'll invest in the right player, not necessarily the big named player, but the right players to start building the club and bring it to the core, the youth, develop the youth in an attacking way, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, then I suppose in 5 years' time you might see a bit of success. I suppose, yeah, when you're bringing that in. You know, it's just I don't see
You
it.
sound like Alan Hansen. You sound like Alan Hansen.
You're gonna pull that young prospect you have off loan, that young player of the season. What's his name? Lingard or something, isn't it? Young prospect you've got coming through.
Still learning his trade.
He got called into the England under-21s.
I'd have a different view to Wayne in terms of United and being practical about it. I think if you took City out of the picture there, I think you're looking at another Leicester season, and I think United have just kind of stole a bit of a march because all the other top teams have been in transition and in turmoil and stuff like that. And I think I'd be very surprised next season, of course, pending signings in the summer, if United even make top four. I think Liverpool will come back a hell of a lot stronger. I think Chelsea are going to be a massive force. I think Tottenham are going to have to shake things up, and I know Arsenal are going to come back stronger. And I just think that top four position there is going to be even more competitive next season, and United won't have it all. I mean, if you look at United, they've been really, really tend to be really, really lucky with injuries and stuff like that this season and stuff.
We've been in transition for 8 years now, so it's not bad second place for that.
I think if you look at the season as well, all the teams hit a kind of bad run of form. You know, City started off the season a little bit slow. I know Spurs were looking great, but then they seemed to implode the last couple of months. Like Liverpool, same thing with us. We were flying high top of the league, and then all of a sudden, you know, we fell off a cliff. I think United, they're in second, obviously, and they're clear, but I think United started the season very poorly. So they kind of got that quote-unquote bad run of form out of the way. I think they lost to Palace in their first game, and then they got beaten by Spurs. I think they lost at home to Arsenal then as well. But ever since then, you know, they have had the odd kind of dice result, but they've been very good. This kind of away record as well has helped them as well. On the road, there's just...
Yeah, I think it... Yeah, it was a good time there, Alex. You just paused there just as you were about to drop that. Just drop that love for Man United.
I was just about to get to my point. No, that was my incident. They heard me praising United, and they were like.
And now we've got to.
I was just saying the last thing I said was look, they hit their bad run of form at the start of the season, so I think they kind of got it out of the way. So that's helped them a bit. As the other teams are kind of, you know, falling off, they've just, you know, kind of kept there and kept steady. You know, that away record is just ridiculous.
Yeah, really good.
And now, lads, now we have to stare into 2 weeks of international.
Are we not talking about the Ireland-Serbia game, no?
No.
Oh no.
I like goal. I personally like goals in my football.
I sat back today thinking, and I was going, you know, I'm probably going to have to do an international episode on Thursday.
No.
And I just went,
I wish you luck with that.
Percy, he's on it then.
A load of miserable Irish fans.
All you need to know is we played Serbia 5 times and we've never beaten them. So that's all you need to know.
I'm going to say no. Don't do it on Thursday. You need to be watching the chats on Thursday.
Yeah, I'll do it after. Do you know what it is? I don't know what it is about you guys with international football, but the only reason now I kind of watch international football, and it's not me being a patriot in any way or anything like that, but it's I only care about whether my club players get injured or not, or whether they're going to come back not injured. Everyone was going mad the other day about Trent being dropped out of the England side, and I said, happy days. I said, brilliant. Absolutely. 2 weeks rest, not a bother. Happy days.
And think about it as well. There's always been this kind of, you know, this international break is pointless, type people say, but it's kind of been magnified now. Like an international break in the middle of a global pandemic. It's like if there was ever a time to say, look, lads, let's just scrap it for now and see what happens. You know, you're going to get all these players coming in from these different countries. Like, for example, if you look at the Spain team, did Thiago call up for Spain? So he wasn't allowed to play. Like we weren't allowed to play in Spain against Atletico Madrid. We had to play, I think, over in Budapest. Yet Thiago is going to join all of these Spanish players from the country he's not allowed to enter as a club player. So I'm looking, going, what's going on? Same with Werner with Germany. You weren't allowed to play in Germany yet. He's going to go and join all the German lads.
Yeah, that's my fear with these international breaks as well, is that they all come back and we end up having to pay the under 12s because of a COVID outbreak or something like that.
But
You know what
from
I mean?
a,
It's
from a
just
FIFA point of view, they have to fulfill their broadcasting duties to get their money, and we all know about FIFA and UEFA, what they're like when it comes to money. So that's why they're pushing these fixtures through, you know.
Well, lads, I'll leave you with this one thing. Brian Kerr, get back into that international area and get out of that studio.
Definitely.
Because if there's one piece of advice I can give to Stephen Kenny is that personality and banter will get you a long way, even if you lose football. Lads, as always, it's been brilliant. Head over to YouTube, smash that subscribe and bell notification button. We tell you every week to do this. Like, share, enjoy, subscribe. Help us grow the podcast as always. And lads, until next time, it's been a ball as always. Thanks, lads.
Lads.
Cheers.
All right.
Cheers.